Get the camera! So hello guys, this is TheManBearPigify here once again, back at you with another video. And this video, it's a kind of a video that I wanted to make for a long time, but I just didn't have the time to make a video like this. Basically what this video will be about, it's gonna be all about the stabilized stock. There has been a lot of confusion about the stock, and people are wondering what it actually does and how it affects you in game. And since it is a pretty expensive stock, it's a a late level unlock. People wanted to know what it does, and I myself actually wondered what it actually did for a long time, and then I tested it out, and I was actually really surprised because I actually really liked it. In this video, I will show some gameplay. The gameplay that you're seeing now is with the stabilized stock, and the gameplay that you'll see in a moment, it's with the Scar-L on Dalian. That will also be with the stabilized stock. Afterwards, you will see some wall shootings, and that actually took quite some time for me to make because I had some technical difficulties while trying to record, and I actually sacrificed some of my accuracy as well because I couldn't unrank my own server to do it. So I just had to find an empty server to shoot the wall with. And basically you'll see two footages. One will be on the top and one will be on the bottom. And the top one will be with stabilized stock, and the bottom one will be without. It will be signified with a little icon with the red dot. It will get more clear when we actually get to that part. It's just to give you guys an idea of what the stabilized stock actually does. I will explain more about it when we actually reach that part, but I will also explain what weapons I would recommend using the stabilized stock on for each and every class. But first, let's talk about the pricing of the stabilized stock. For the engineer, the stabilized stock costs for 1 day 2,000 funds, no 2,000 credits, 139 funds for 1 day. For 7 days it costs 500 funds, and for forever it costs 4,000 funds. So it is actually quite expensive, but of course this is for the engineer, and actually for all the other classes as well. For the recon, it costs a bit different. For the recon, the early unlock is 9,000 funds. It costs 900 credits to get for a day, and 69 funds for 1 day as well, 250 funds for 7 days, and forever it only costs 2,000 funds. This is a really good option. In my opinion, it is the best option for the recon class. Now here you can see all the wall shootings that I will do. As you can see here, I'm using the AK-971. I would like you guys to notice how the spray pattern on the top is a lot less hefty. With that I mean, let's say I'm trying to burst fire, the top one goes a little more to the left and to the right and all that kind of stuff, whereas the top one just is really easy to control and just goes upwards. So you can see when using the stabilized stock on the AK, it's actually really easy to control the recoil in my opinion, because it's mainly upwards, as you can see in the footage on top. And on the bottom, it's pretty hard to control because it's all all around, but it's still doable. One thing is though that the stabilized stock does not reduce any deviation at all. Deviation basically is when you spray on a wall and you keep your crosshair pointed in the same direction. As you can see here, not all the shots land in the same place. And as you can see again, the Scar-L, similar situation to the AEK. The top one is a lot more easy to control, and it's actually really easy for long range shots as well. Because as I said, the Scar-L, no, not the Scar-L, but the stabilized stock does not produce any deviation at all. So trying to use the stabilized stock at close range or medium range and just going fully auto will be quite difficult because it does not reduce any deviation. However, if you're gonna burst 1 or 2 shots, or maybe 3 shots over at longer ranges, the stabilized stock suddenly excels, because the stabilized stock will maintain your damage, unlike the Nemesis stock will, and it will also give you a really good recoil control, because if you can counteract that upwards recoil, as you can see here, especially with the M16, it's really easy to control, especially over longer ranges, and that's why I really recommend using the stabilized stock over longer ranges. Now, one thing is that The stabilized stock, I said it does not reduce deviation, but that's a different story on the recon and engineer class. As you can see here, I am spraying the wall, but this is not the most important part. It's the part coming up next. If you look at the wall, I will shoot and keep my crosshair pointed. Now I would like you to pause at this point in the footage and take a look at the circle and see how much bigger it is on the red dot side and with the red dot with an extrude side, meaning that with the stabilized stock there's a lot less spread with the stabilized stock, and with the without the stabilized stock there's a lot more spread. As I said, go back and pause the video to look at it because it's actually pretty obvious. A lot of people disagree and say no, it does not reduce deviation, but I'm here to say that it actually does. Especially here on the UMP, you can see that it keeps the deviation in in tame, or if that's how you say it, it keeps the deviation under control before it gets all hectic for a longer time than it does without the stabilized stock. And again, the recoil is really easy to control and it's mainly upwards. And that's why I would recommend the stabilized stock for all weapons on the engineer class. For the assault class and stuff, I will get on to a bit on what attachments, I know what weapons you should use the stabilized stock on, but for the engineer weapons, just use it on every weapon. That's what I recommend. Of course you can use something else, but my recommendation is just use the stabilized stock on every weapon on the engineer class. There are some exceptions though. On some weapons you'd like to use the balanced stock a bit more, but on some weapons the stabilized stock just works a lot better, and on most weapons it just works terrific. Now as you can see here on the medic weapons, on the M249 saw, it just acts like a MG36 pre-nerf because it has really easy to control recoil with the stabilized stock. Here you can see the RPK mainly has upwards recoil as well with the stabilized stock, and with the without the stabilized stock you can see it goes all to the left and to the right. And I actually didn't even say what the stabilized stock actually does with the description, so I'm gonna read it out right now. The stabilized stock increases accuracy by reducing horizontal recoil movement, which is shown in these clips as well. You can see that the videos with the stabilized stock, it moves a lot less to the left and to the right, whereas the bottom one moves a lot more upwards, left and to the right. Now to give you a perspective, the stabilized stock reduces twice as much horizontal recoil as the tactical stock does, but it does not reduce any horizontal recoil. Now you can see here I am using it on the VSS, and as you can see the spread with this stabilized stock is a lot lower than without the stabilized stock. Again, I recommend pausing the video for best effect so you can see how it actually plays out. Now onto the part where I will say what stock you should use on what weapon. Now for the assault class I will name all the weapons. For the assault class I would use it on the M16, the G3A4, the AEK971, the SCAR-L, the M4A1, the 416 carbine, the XM8, and the ACWR. Now I said this because these weapons have a generally easy to control recoil pattern, meaning that they are not like the STG77 AUG which goes to the right. It doesn't have a recoil pattern like the LED5 which goes to the upper right, or like the A91. They have similar recoil patterns, whereas they just go kind of left to the right and up a bit. So that's why I would really recommend you use stabilized stock on these weapons. However, on some weapons like the M4A1S, it is really recommended that you maybe use a tactical stock on it because it has quite some deviation. But how I recommend you use the stabilized stock is to burst fire the weapon. As you can see here, I'm doing it with the SCAR-L, and it's actually really easy for me to get some long range shots. The stabilized stock makes for some really easy long range recoil control, and deviation isn't really needed. Oh no, deviation is not really a concern for longer ranges because after all you're burst firing, so the deviation doesn't kick in as as often. Now for the engineer class, as I said, just use it on every weapon which you like. It works well on every weapon, but you can use any other stock as well. It's just my recommendation. Now for the medic class, I would use it on the M249 SAW, the FN Para, the XM8 AR, the RPK, the M27 IAR, and the Peshenek. Now these weapons, as I said, the same reasons as I stated on the assault. However, on the medic class, I would recommend burst firing a bit more because some medic weapons like the M27 no, not like the M249 saw, have a lot more deviation than the assault weapons, so keep that in mind. For the recon, I would only use it on one weapon, which is the VSS Venturus. The VSS Venturus has a really easy to control upwards recoil pattern, so I would definitely use it on the VSS Venturus. Now, hope you guys enjoyed this video, hope you find it informative. Tell me if you have any questions about this particular stock or any other stocks, and I might make a video on it, or you just tell you in the comments. For now guys, this has been TheManBearPigify, and I'm out.